Hey everybody, Tammy here, back with a week one review of Rice University's Data Analytics and Visualization Bootcamp. I want to start out by just putting a bow on a couple of things that I said in the first video that I don't think I buttoned up really well. The first thing is that as horrible as an experience was dealing with the people on the front lines at Trilogy, I really need to do a call out to my instructor, my TA, and my student success manager. So all the people that you're going to deal with on the other side of the initial process of getting signed up are fabulous. I'll talk a little bit more about my instructor and TA and SSM in just a second, but I just wanted to make that clear. And that's why I said in the first video, don't let your first interaction, if it's not favorable, with Trilogy deter you from doing the boot camp, because the people on the other end of that are the exact opposite and are wonderful. Also, I wanted to just clarify that I am doing the part-time boot camp. So it lasts 6 months. We meet 3 days a week, Monday and Wednesday from 6:30 to 9:30, and then Saturday from 10 to 2. So I know that they offer both full-time and part-time. I'm doing the part-time. Normally I would be going onto campus, but since we're living in the year of our Lord 2020 and there's a pandemic, everything is online through Zoom. So I just wanted to clarify those two things. Okay, so let's jump into the first week. So Monday we met. Monday was, again, more of a pep rally. All the students went around and introduced themselves. We got to learn more about our instructor, our TA, and our SSM as well. So my instructor is somebody who has been coding since the 90s. He's worked for many Fortune 500 companies. He's got many articles out there on the interwebs. He's been doing this for a very long time. My TA has not been doing it that long, but he is still very experienced in the world of data analytics and visualization, and has a lot of experience under his belt as well. So the people that are going to be, well, at least my experience has been that your instructor and TA will be very credentialed. These are not just going to be people who just graduated from the boot camp themselves, but these are people who have really been doing this work for a very long time and have documented experience that you can go and research and watch online. My student success manager is wonderful as well. I want to do a call out to her, because all three of them really want you to participate and to pass this boot camp. They really care about your success. I know that sounds so cheesy, but they really do. So your student success manager is going to make herself available to you. She gives you all her contact information, and so anytime you have an issue, you reach out to her, and she'll meet with you and kind of talk through some options. I was playing around in the boot camp, and I came across a survey that I had to complete that it would not let me go anywhere until I rated the first week. And based on some of the feedback on some of the questions, like 30 minutes later, I get an email from the SSM asking if I'd be willing to set up a meeting with her just to talk about some of my feedback, right? So all the surveys and your comments and things like that are taken very seriously. And, like I said, they really want you to succeed, and they really want you to get the most out of this boot camp. So they are definitely there on your side. My instructor and TA are so helpful. They provide so many resources outside of the just the standard material that we're working through in the class. They provide their own experiences. The instructor will say one way to do something, and then the TA will back him up and say, well, you document that way, but there's also a shorter way that I've discovered. I had somebody in a previous class say that they did it this way. So the amount of information that they're going to be giving you is going to be vast. But again, they want you to succeed. They want you to be successful, and they definitely have your best interest at heart. And so that was really what we did on Monday. Again, just met everybody and then kind of talk a little bit more about Git. I'm not going to talk about what that is. You can look at that in another video, but learning to use the different commands and, you know, entering those commands in terminal or git bash is kind of a learning curve, and learning how to push and pull things from the repository and create repositories. It's a little involved, but you know, we started the process of talking about that. And again, they sent some resources in Slack that we could use to learn more information. And that was basically all we did on Monday. Okay, so that was Monday. Now we move on to Wednesday. So Wednesday was the first day that we got into the nuts and bolts of using Excel. We talked about conditional formatting, using formulas, filtering, conditional formatting, pivot tables, charting, all the different types of charts that you can do, and plotting in Excel. We also went over, there were lots of questions on Monday about Git. And so what our TA offered to do is to use Tuesday's office hours strictly for going over Git, how to push, pull, setting up your repository and things like that. So that was Wednesday. Okay, and then so Saturday rolls around. Saturday, we started out with more information about Git. We learned about Git ignores and how to create repositories both from the command line as well as from the web browser. So from there, we went on to talk more about plotting. So we talked about central tendencies as well as data plotting properties. So mean, median, and mode, standard deviation, z-scores, using those sorts of features in Excel, when to use them and how to use them. So that was basically the nuts and bolts of Excel that we went over this week. The format of each class this week has been, you know, you have office hours 30 minutes before class starts and after class ends. That's time for you to ask questions. If you have, you know, maybe you're trying to upload something to a repository, you can't. Maybe you had a question on some of the material. That's, you know, you're working on homework that you have, and you have a question about that. You'll ask all those questions in office hours. And then once class starts, the instructor has been working off of a slide deck, a PowerPoint presentation. And when I am listing these things, saying that we went over conditional formatting, we went over z-scores and standard deviation, the format is to maybe talk 3 to 5 minutes to standard deviation, put everybody in a breakout room, and then work on an activity that has you use the feature that you just talked about. And then with the breakout rooms, it really just depends. So when you go into a breakout room, you're going to be in there with different people each time. So let's say in one class, you'll probably go into a breakout room maybe 4 or 5 times, and it's not always going to be the same people in the room. So some breakout rooms I've been in, and you know, everybody's like off mute, just trying to figure this thing out. And then you go into another breakout room and everybody's completely silent, working on it on their own. Now, even in the latter scenario, you know, if you take yourself off mute and you ask a question, you know, somebody will say, share your screen, I'll help you. But the environments are just different, and it really kind of depends on who's in the room with you. So a lot of these boot camps say, you know, you don't need any experience at all. You can start out, you know, from ground zero and not knowing anything, and we will teach you. And that is true, but I think that you really will have a leg up if you have some sort of experience, right? I'm not saying that you need to be an expert in using standard deviation or pivot tables in Excel, but you don't want the first day of class to be the first time that you're learning these features, because you are not going to come out of that class now knowing standard deviations. They're going to introduce you to the material. Like I said, spend 3 to 5 minutes on 1 or 2 slides talking about standard deviation, then put you in a breakout room with your other classmates. You guys are going to have, the longest that we've had on any activity has been 17 minutes, which has not been long enough for me to complete any of them. And then you go back into the breakout room, he'll show you the solved the solved file, and then you move on to the next topic. So it is extremely fast paced, and it's just to introduce you to the topics. You're going to need to spend time outside of class finishing those activities, because all the activities roll into your homework that you have to that you have done, that you'll need to have done each week. So you're going to need to spend a lot of time outside of work working on those activities, researching more about each of those topics, because there just isn't enough time in class to cover it, and the class isn't designed that way. So after Saturday's class, there was some concern expressed by a couple of students who's like, hey, we just went from basically, Monday or Tuesday, what is Excel, to Saturday, now we're doing, Z-scores and plotting with standard deviation. It really seemed like we're jumping from 0 to 100. And our instructor and TA both agreed that it did move very fast, but they offered some resources on, how we could get up to speed and more information on it. But I guess my personal opinion is, if you're who's taking a boot camp to learn more about Excel, you can take a course on Udemy or watch a YouTube video. But this week really started out with the expectation that you have experience in Excel. Again, you don't need to be an expert. Maybe you've only heard of pivot tables and you try to complete one time and you couldn't figure it out, so you dropped it. That's fine. But you don't want your first time that you're ever learning about pivot tables to be in class, because you're going to be doing a lot of research outside of class in order to learn about that particular topic. So yeah, those students expressed some concern about how fast we were going. And the main question was, it's doable in Excel to go from 0 to 100, but when we start coding in VBA, which we're going to be doing in week 2, or in Python, is it going to be the same thing? Are we going to go from 0 to 100 again? And our instructor and TA both assured us that those steps are going to be taken much more slowly. We'll spend more time. So they reassured us that that would not happen in the following weeks when we start some of the more complicated topics. So that's basically the summary for week number 1. My biggest take from week number 1 has been that I'm going to be spending a lot of time outside of class. So, this week I've got all the activities that I didn't finish from the previous days in class, so I need to complete those. I'm working on a homework that is due next Saturday, and I'm recording this in week 2. So while all this is going on, I'm also learning new material. So you're going to be really spending a lot of time doing research and learning outside of class, and you'll want to make sure that you're a good manager of time. You want to make sure that you've kind of rearranged your priorities, because it is very easy to feel overwhelmed and behind very quick. So that's where we are with week 1. We are, like I said, I'm in week 2 right now. We are doing VBA, coding in Visual Basic in Excel. So I will have more information about that in the coming weeks. So stay tuned. Hope that helps for now. Talk to you later. Bye.